Good evening and welcome to the Blue Seahorse Show. Tonight I have got two guests with me, Jane Flanagan and Mike Siver, and we are all counselors at the Blue Seahorse. Tonight we're going to talk about repairing broken adults. We are all counselors with the Blue Seahorse. Jane and I, we both see anger management clients and substance abuse clients. Some of our clients are also domestic violence, while Mike usually deals more with the battery clients and the substance abuse clients. At the Blue Seahorse, we offer coaching instruction of life skills needed to be a productive and successful citizens in today's society. I will turn this over to Mike and let him talk and tell us a little bit more about what we do there.
Well, as the title indicates, repairing broken adults. And it took us a while to come up with that title, and I like that title. My specialty in Van Buren County and in Southwest Michigan, in Blue Seahorse, is the only that I know of registered domestic violence batterer intervention provider in Southwest Michigan. And it's interesting for people to understand the difference between anger management and batterer intervention. Batterer is obviously, for those that understand, but for those that don't, when you get into a physical confrontation and you hit somebody, that's committing battery on another person. Anger management, and so many of our clients say in the beginning, well, she made me mad and I was upset, so I hit her, or I hurt her, or I pushed her, or I shoved her. Well, that's not anger management. That's not just being mad about that. The reason our clients, and we do a huge evaluation process to find out where all their weaknesses and their strengths are. Batterer intervention is a power and control issue of normally men over women, not an anger management. It has nothing to do with anger management. They get mad because they're not getting their way. They don't have control. They're losing power, so they get angry. But it's not an anger management issue. Anger management is when you're trying to drive a nail on a piece of wood and you hit your thumb with a hammer and the hammer goes flying across the room. Well, that's frustration and anger management. Batterer intervention is normally called between two partners, between an intimate partners. Now, domestic violence is in the middle of that. Domestic violence is in the domicile. Mom against daughter, mom against son, dad against, that's domestic violence inside the home. And it can be cousins. Most of the time they're a related issue, domestic violence. If it's outside the home and it's between two strangers, it's a fist fight. All right, so we keep it simple. Battery intervention takes place when a man is, mostly men, there are some women out there too, but mostly men, who get convicted of battery against their intimate partner. And it's very specific. Now, when we get those clients, and our program runs 36 weeks spread over 12 months. So it's a fairly long program because we're trying to look at behaviors that we're trying to change. And if we don't get to change the behavior, then they'll be back. They won't come back to us because when the court realizes they've finished the program and went and violated again, they normally go to prison. So we lose them right away at that point if they do it again. So that's the main thing we do. And then we're starting to focus more on repairing broken adults.
Because that's basically what we're doing. When they all come in there, they're broken in some way. And talking with them and having discussions with them, you can tell that some of their problems go all the way back to when they were children.
And we ask basic, simple questions. What made it okay for you to do that?
Right.
You wouldn't let some other man hit your wife. You wouldn't let some other man hit your daughter if she was married to him or living with him or become intimate partner with him. But it's okay for you? So how do we have to address that issue of the the broken adult in his broken thought processes. And that becomes a huge problem. That's why the class is so long. Now, you two do mostly anger management and substance abuse.
Right.
And that takes a lot of skill as well. I'm fortunate to, when I do my substance abuse, I've been down that road.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 23 years recovering now, so I'm pretty, not that it's all over, and I'll never do it again because you never know, it's one day at a time. But I know when I'm dealing with somebody, my thought processes when I was drinking and abusing drugs, I know what I was thinking, and I made it okay. In my own mind, I made it okay to do that. And it wasn't until I went through the counseling that they asked me, what makes it okay for you?
Mm-hmm.
And I know I work with Jane now and then on some of the clients, and we ask them if a drunk came down the road and jumped the curb and killed your son, your little son, in your front lawn and drove away, you would want to go chase after him and probably do some serious felony damage to that person. But you're here because you got a DUI. What makes it okay for you to get a DUI and not for him? And this is the broken thought processes, the brokenness of the men and women that we do. And we're dealing more and more women now with drugs and alcohol. And that's more of your stuff, so I'm going to try and shut up here now and let you guys say your piece about what you feel about what we're doing with repairing these broken adults.
Well, I feel we're trying to bring them in, and we're trying to offer to them, just as my earlier statement, offering them some skills and suggestions, trying to bring in background, trying to know how they were raised, where they came from, where they are now, and just justifiable. These children, these adults that come in, they can justify. They feel that they have a justification for everything, and what we need to do is we just need to broaden what they're looking at rather than keeping it, well, this one did this person, that's why I did that. No, there's more to it. You have got to accept some ownership here of what you did and what you didn't do.
And that's a hard thing to get them to do.
Yeah.
I know with some of your classes, it's hard to get them to stop minimizing their role in that and maximizing other people's roles in that. Because if that other person hadn't have been there, what would be their excuse now? They were still drinking.
Yep.
So what's their reasoning? And we have to be, I guess because like I said, I've been down that road. You got to be sort of hard.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let them off the hook so easy.
But when we were abusing, I'm sure that we didn't want people telling us either, being hard-nosed with us. We wanted because I'd come up with all kinds of excuses.
Yeah.
I could come up with all kinds of reasons why, I got upset, so I went and drank, So trying to not catch them, I don't want to say that. We don't let them get away with nothing because we've been there. I guess that's what I wanted to say.
Well, catching them is okay because our job is to catch them and stop them and repair them. And if we have to catch them in a lie or catch them in their manipulating thought processes, which I know I was good at.
I was too.
And it's interesting. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's actually difficult when they fight you all the way, not wanting to know the truth. And then because we are a Christian-based program, I have no problem bringing God into the picture and working that, not that we can't jam it down their throat because we'll lose them. We'll push them away if we try to do that. But to introduce an option for living your life and repairing your life as we try to repair their lives, if what you're doing is not working, well then let's change what you're doing. to be more successful. And if you don't know what to do, or you're not prepared to listen to what we have to say, then we can introduce another person, which is God, and say, you know what? Let's look at that. And it was funny. I was talking to a guy the other day in the jail, because I'm a chaplain in the jail, and we go there, and he was talking about the Christian hypocrites in jail. And I said, I know they're in there. There's tons of them in there. And these are the Christians who talk the walk but don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
And they're going to stay in jail, and they're going to keep coming back and forth, because all inmates, me included, found God in jail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I left him there too when I left.
Right.
He stayed right there in the cell
Yes.
when I left. I didn't want to bring him with me. But they all find God in jail. Like the old saying, there's no atheists in foxholes.
Right.
Right.
You know. But when you find an option, we call it Plan B sometimes, which Plan B should actually be Plan A. Find God. The rest of them are all Plan Bs. Plan A works the best. Sometimes it's hard to get them to understand that we talk about the hypocritical Christian in jail. I said, I don't know any Christians that intentionally who talk the talk and walk the walk who are in jail.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody. Now, if they are, they might have been get set up by somebody or something else, but I don't know any Christians that I know of, men or women, that actually talk the talk and walk the walk as a Christian person who is in jail. And you deal with them all the time, and I deal with them, and Sherry deals with them in her practice.
Well, Jane and I, having to come in, there's a four weeks of the program
Yeah.
that Jane and I will come in and give the woman's perspective on the abuse that we received during our time, trying to open their eyes on how it was for us as the female being abused. Whether it was emotional, physical, or whatever. I can see that it working, but I can still see these guys justifying that what they done because they felt that it was necessary. They felt that there was one client, I think we seen that too, that she was getting too much of in his face, and he just got to the point where he had enough, and he thought, well, I'm just going to hit her that way. I'm going to get her out of my way.
Yeah.
She's not going to come back again. So trying to get these gentlemen to understand that what you're doing not only is affecting that woman, but then we're also talking to them and telling them that this doesn't just affect her. This even goes beyond who it affects.
Yeah. And
I
like
remember
with-
one day
with
we were
kids.
talking, it affects the police officers that was involved. It may be a CPS case, they may come in and be involved. And then we've got the courts that's involved. Trying to make these adults understand that when you did what you did, it affected everybody around you.
And my biggest problem is the kids,
Yeah.
how they're affected by that. And we've tried to point that out to some of them. And I think they thought when we first went in there that we were just gonna beat them up,
Yeah.
But I think we've had a few that the light bulb came on. And that, so that made it worth it to us that we've had people like that looked at us and I never thought of it like that.
Right.
And it made a big difference to me to find a light bulb come on.
Well, you get appreciated when all of a sudden they say that, and I hate to, and I'm not against, this is going to put me in bad stead with somebody out there I know, but counselors who have been down the road and walked in their shoes and then went and got the education to support that history are able to say things that counselors who have never been down the road, who've never been an alcoholic,
Right.
or a serious drug addict, or a person in prison for anger management, or stealing or theft, those people, as long as they come out and they get their head together, have got more to offer than most counselors that I know. And when they go and add to that an educational level that gives them more options to utilize their knowledge, more different ways to present their knowledge, they're very effective counselors. And they're the ones who can offer those little sayings, those little things that I never thought of it like that. You know, that never bothered me. And you get that more than I do, I think. You get that a lot.
We
Yeah.
do.
Well, we got to look at the anger management part of it too. And Sherry, you do, I think, most of the anger management, at least so far. And that's a difficult one to deal with.
It is.
But you also find that a lot of the anger management people that we have gotten, they have some kind of abuse. And they're,
That's what I was talking earlier, you know, if you talk to them, you get a history, simply asking them what happened. And through the information that they'll offer you and tell you, you know, this is what happened, something will pop up in there, well, when I was younger, this or that happened. And for a lot of the people that I know that I have seen so far, this is basically their first time at being caught, I guess is the word I'll say. I don't
Yeah.
think it's the first time
Yeah.
that they've become angry, but this is the first time they got caught. And you know, I'll look at it and I'm thinking maybe they realize it, and maybe they don't. You know, it's kind of early to say, but they sit there and they engage. They seem to be learning at what they're doing, and they seem to walk away in a better place. So I think what we're doing is effective.
yeah, I do too. There's been times that I didn't think we were getting through on certain people. It just seemed like we weren't getting through, that he was just trying to blow smoke. And then I get frustrated because I don't want him pretending, you know, because nothing comes out of that room. So there's no reason for him to pretend.
Well, I think we have
But
to
I know,
realize.
I know that's not gonna be,
Yeah.
you know,
But I think we have to realize we're going to have some of these clients coming to us that they've been set there by the court, and they know the only way that they're going to be done with the situation is to get done with us.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with it too. They're there to do what they were instructed to do, and then, you know, gosh forbid, but they're going to walk right back out the door and they're going to do the same thing again. So.
but then if you thump them too hard, then they shut down.
It's a
So-
line. It's a thin line
Yeah.
that we walk all
When
the
you really
time.
wanna beat them up, you know, you're afraid you're gonna shut them down too.
Well, I think we've always wanted, all of us at times, and I'm sure all counselors out there, if there's anybody listening to this, that want to reach over the table and grab them
Yeah.
and say, listen to what I'm saying,
Yeah.
because you're going to be back here. And I like to deal with some of the anger management stuff that you're dealing with when we talk to clients about what makes them angry. And if you ask them, what makes you, why do you get angry? And a lot of them come up with all kinds of stuff, too hot, too cold, or too fast, too slow, whatever, drivers on the road. I say, yeah, but there's another key to that. What makes you angry?
A lot of times they can't tell you. They don't know. They just got mad. I just got mad. I lost it.
And what I try to introduce to them is we all have expectations of each other. Everybody has an expectation. I have expectations even sitting here with you two on what is going to happen. And if my expectations aren't met, and I made those expectations without consultation with you because they're in my head, and if you have expectations of a partner, and that partner doesn't know your expectations, you then get frustrated. And if you get frustrated and you don't deal with those issues, those frustrations at that time, it keeps growing until it becomes anger. When it becomes anger, then you become my client, or our
Right,
clients,
right.
or somebody's client out there. It doesn't matter whose, but you become somebody's client. And when we break it down like that, then they can actually think of expectations. When you're driving down the road and you're obeying the signs, and I hope everybody does, your expectations are that everybody around you is going to obey the law. Because if they don't, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And people cut you off without using their blinkers, it creates an issue. And you might get very angry. Road rage. People die from that. They shoot each other with road rage. And that all comes from expectations of other people without other people knowing that you've put expectations on them. And that's frightening.
And that's big in marriages.
Oh, huge.
And
Huge.
I'm guilty of that myself. Because I won't do dishes for 3 days because it was Mike's turn. And I'm not going to tell him to do it because he's a full-grown man.
Yep.
So,
But does he know it's his turn? And
yes.
do you have that expectation
that he should just do it.
that he should just do it because it's his turn?
That's right.
And we do some premarital stuff we're doing now, and some not marital. Well, this is not marital. This is living together stuff.
New relationships after
stuff.
broken relationships.
After broken relationships.
Right.
Again, we get back to the broken part.
Right.
And one question that we're going to do it here next week, I think.
The first.
The first of the month is take the girl, the lady, in one room, the guy in the other room, and make them a list of their expectations of their partner. And then we're going to come back and we're going to compare them. And we're going to talk about expectations that I don't believe either one of them knew about.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really interesting. It always has been in the past, because they think they know each other. And they're young, this young couple that we're talking to.
And both of them come out of domestic.
Yes.
Bad
domestic.
situations, yep.
I don't think they've been together very long, so I'm thinking that we're going to have a large list. Yeah.
Well, they are, because they both having issues with their spouses in the past.
Right.
Don't want those issues again. So they've changed their expectations, and now we're going to verbalize them. Now we're going to put them in writing, make them black and white, and we're going to talk about them. And we're going to see where they go. And I'm looking forward to
Me too.
that group.
This is my first time.
Yeah, I've done it before in the past,
So-
and it's exciting.
We've got some other couples we need to throw in there to do the same thing.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Well, this could be something that we could do on a regular basis.
That could probably go under the
new couples coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, premarital stuff too. Because I know I was like totally blindsided when I got married to
Yeah.
Mike. I mean, I was married before, but I was totally blindsided because we both were alcoholics, recovering alcoholics, and he was not too long in that process where I was, so that caused a lot of problems, and we probably should have had that class.
Well, it's only something that we started doing. Blue Seahorse has only just started doing it. I've done it privately for years, but it was just something that I didn't offer it as a program. If I was talking to a couple about issues, and normally it was domestic violence, and they got through that, and there wasn't no contact orders or anything, so they could still talk to each other, then I would bring that up and say, well, let's do this exercise. Because before we go any further, you're going to have to learn to live together, because you're not doing very well right now. And we would do this little exercise. And I've done it probably half a dozen times, and it's been pretty successful. But the other thing we have to look at too is, in relationships, the ability to run your finances. And I run a program, it's a Christian-based Financial Peace University. A real simple way to manage your money with very little effort, all common sense, all according to the gospel, all according to God and the Bible, works so smooth that when they get through the expectation side, then they really get caught up in it. And it works for them both, because then that becomes expectations too on managing the money. and who does what.
And another life skill.
Yeah,
Yep.
just like with Mike and I, he was one of them, he was single for a long time, and so he could take his whole check and blow it in a few days, He probably still could today. He does manage his money better now than what he used to, and I was the tightwad. Because I raised my daughter by myself most of her life, so I had to learn how to be that, where he just didn't, and he keeps saying, you don't spend money, you just gotta spend money, you just gotta do this. And I'm going, yeah, but what about down the road? And he didn't have life skills. He was just raised here and there and whatever, where I had life skills. Because my mother was one of the tightest women that ever walked. And she taught us kids how to manage our money and budgets and all that kind of stuff. And she always did it because my dad knew she did it well. And he didn't know nothing about managing money because she always did it. And she taught all of us kids. My late brother was one of them that was very tight. You would have to really talk to him to get a couple bucks out of him, So that was something that Mike and I had a problem with, was money. Most people do, most married people.
And when you get back to the whole broken people thing and the relationship issue and also the domestic violence, and take it to a larger scale, and then when it becomes battery, the laws are made originally designed by communities to protect themselves. They didn't have the Parliament, and they didn't have the Senate and the Congress. They didn't have that. They just got together and said, well, you can't do this in this street, you can't do that over here, you can't do that. And they made little laws to protect themselves. Well, we've grown from that so much now that we have to have people who enforce the laws. And they don't know you from a bar of soap. So when you get to this domestic violence stuff, it actually becomes dangerous. And I know police officers, and I know several police officers fairly well, that's the one call they don't like to go on. They do not like to go to domestic violence scenes because something very, very serious can happen in domestic violence because it's all emotion.
Yeah.
And all rationale has gone out the window. It's gone. So when you get to that stage, there's nobody in charge.
Right.
And it becomes very frightening. So when we work on trying to repair broken people, the question has to work backwards from that. Why are they broken? You talked about it earlier with environmental growing, the youth. You are a product of your environment, whether we like to admit it or not.
Right.
Now, not everybody becomes bad if their dad's bad. Not everybody becomes bad if their mom's bad. But there's expectations of you growing up that you may not be aware of until you become an adult. Then you start to see these expectations and you have of other people. We're going to come back here on the next show and talk more about this. Mm-hmm. And there's so much more to talk about on the youth growing up. And I use the whole example like going to church. For some reason, people know they don't cuss in church. Where'd you learn that from? Mm-hmm. You learn that as a kid. And that's just a very basic example of that. So we're almost out of time here, Sherry.
Okay, yeah. Well, we are going to come back for a part 2, though, and talk some more about repairing broken adults. So have a good night, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.